Hare Krishna. Can you hear my voice? Am I audible? Okay, let's start. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadvaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. We have been discussing from the 22nd chapter, the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The chapter is titled as uh, The Four Kumaras Instruct Prithu Maharaj. So Prithu Maharaj has received the four Kumaras with utmost respect and has glorified them, expressed his gratitude, um, and he has requested them to answer his question. So his essential question is, what is the easiest and the quickest way for people of this world to escape suffering, right? Uh, by what means will there be immediate benefit for those suffering in this world? So in response to that, um the four Kumaras are very, very pleased because Prithu Maharaj's words were logical, deep in meaning, concise, and sweet. So they answered with great affection. They said, you have asked a very, very wonderful question. And from your question, it is very clear that you are already very learned and also you are thinking about the welfare of all beings. So we are very pleased with you. Uh, in fact, the assembly of devotees, of hearers and speakers is desirable because the discussions and answers spread benefit to both parties. So basically what they're communicating is, please do not think that we are instructing you and you are taking instructions. Actually, any assembly of devotees where there is a bona fide hearer and a bona fide speaker, and where there is discussion of Krishna Katha, it is very, very beneficial for both the parties. So just like you desire our association, we similarly desire your association. Uh, then they say, you asked what is the best thing that is needed, um, and in our understanding you already have it. Astyeva rajan bhavato madudvishah padara vindasya gunanuvadane ratir durapa vidunoti naishtiki kamam kashayam malamantaratmanah. My dear king, bhavato asti, you certainly already have durapa naishtiki rati, the very rare but fixed attachment, Madhudvishaha Padaravindasya Guna Anuvadane, to discussing about the qualities of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. You have that very rare fixed attachment to discussing these topics. And Vidunoti Kamam Kashayam Malam, and this washes away the contamination of lust within the mind. So we think that you ask what is beneficial for yourself, but you already have what is most beneficial, which is fixed attachment to the Lord. Shastreshu yaneva sunishchito nranam kshemaya sadvyag vimrisheshu hetuhu asanga atma vyatirikta atmani dridaratir brahmani nirgune chaya. The scriptures, by very deeply analyzing the scriptures, it has been very clearly concluded that the only benefit for human being is detachment from the body and attachment to the Supreme Lord. And you already have it. You already have it. Sashraddaya Bhagavad Dharmacharyaya Jigyasayadhyatmika Yoga Nishtaya Yogeshwaropasanaya cha Nityam Punyashravah Kataya Punyaya cha. So he says that, so now let me tell you how one can develop that attachment to the Supreme Lord. And he gives various means by which one can develop attachment to the Supreme Lord. We saw that some of the limbs that he presents are direct bhakti. Some of the limbs that he is presenting are actually Sangha Siddha Bhakti. Huh? So Sangha Siddha Bhakti means that limb becomes Bhakti because of its close contact with Bhakti. So some of the limbs are limbs of Jnana, but because of that Jnana being used to support Bhakti, even though Jnana cannot support Bhakti, it can only obstruct Bhakti. But the performer, because of his mixed faith, thinks that he can support his practice of Bhakti by that limb of Jnana. And that and because that jnana gets a very proximate, intimate association with the predominant bhakti, that that becomes like bhakti. So this is Sangha Siddha Bhakti, which is mixed devotional service only. So basically, uh, you will see the four Kumaras suggesting Jnana Mishra Bhakti, which is what is their qualification. Uh, So they, so ultimately, uh, people will present um, what they think is best according to their own qualification. Prithu Maharaj asked this question to the four Kumaras, even though Prithu Maharaj has qualification for Shuddha Bhakti, but he asked this question to the four Kumaras who are Jnana Mishra Bhaktas. So they present uh, Jnana Mishra Bhakti as the means to attain ultimate perfection. So they say, Sa Shraddhaya Bhagavad Dharmacharyaya Jigyasayadhyatmika Yoga Nishtaya Yogeshwaropasanaya cha Nityam Punya Shravah Kataya Punyaya cha. So attachment for the Lord takes place by faith, Shraddhaya, Jigyasaya Bhagavad Dharmacharyaya, by being inquisitive about the process of bhakti, by steadiness in Atma Yoga, by worship of the great yogis, and by pure discussions about the Lord on a daily basis. Some of these are limbs of bhakti, and some of these are limbs of jnana. Artendriyarama sagoshtya trishnaya tat sammatanam aparigrahena cha vivikta ruchya paritosha atmani vina harer guna piyusha panad. So he says, attachment to the Lord can take place when there is Artha Indriya Arama Sagoshti Atrishnaya, when there is disgust with material friendship related to persons who accumulate wealth or enjoy the senses. Tat sammatanam aparigrahena cha, and by not accepting the goals of those people, materialistic people. Vivikta ruchya paritosha atmani vina harer guna piyusha panad. By developing a taste for solitary living with complete satisfaction in the self, as long as one cannot relish the nectar of the Lord's qualities, as long as one has not yet developed taste for relishing Krishna Katha, one should endeavor to stay alone while being satisfied in the self. So then he continues. Ahimsaya paramahamsa charyaya smritya mukunda charitagre siduna yamair akamair niyamaischapyanindaya nirihaya dvandva titikshaya cha. This attachment to the Lord appears by non-violence, ahimsaya, paramahamsa charyaya, by practices leading to a peaceful mind, smritya mukunda charitagre siduna, by tasting the sweetness of the excellent pastimes of the Lord, by practicing yama and niyama with no material desires, by not criticizing others, by living very simply, and by tolerating dualities. As we saw, some of these limbs, just give me 1 second. Yeah, some of these limbs are limbs of jnana, some of these limbs are limbs of yoga, and some of these limbs are limbs of bhakti. But predominance is bhakti. That is why it is considered as pradhani bhuta bhakti, where bhakti is predominant and the limbs of jnana and yoga are secondary. Harer muhus tatpara karna pura gunabidanena vijrumbhamanaya bhaktyakya sangah sadasatyavanatmani syan nirgune brahmani cha anjasa ratihi. Attachment to the Lord who has no material qualities and detachment from the good and bad qualities of the material world quickly appear by constantly discussing with increasing bhakti the Lord's qualities which are pleasing to the devotees here. By constant discussion of Krishna Katha, one develops attachment to the Supreme Lord. But it should be in the association of those who have great attachment to Krishna. Yadaratir Brahmani Naishtiki Puman Acharyavan Jnana Viragaram Hasa Dahatya Viryam Hridayam Jivakosham Panchatmakam Yoni Vivottitognihi. In this way, one develops this rati to the Supreme Lord by practice of bhakti using the subtle body. Then gradually that practice of bhakti generates knowledge, and that knowledge, the fire of knowledge, destroys the very same subtle body which leads to liberation. Okay. So in this way, we saw yesterday that the four Kumaras said that if you practice bhakti and by practice of bhakti you develop Bhagavad Rati. I mean, bhakti means here Jnana Mishra Bhakti, by which you develop Bhagavad Rati. By that Bhagavad Rati, one develops that knowledge, and the fire of knowledge burns the subtle body, which means liberation. So now, let us continue this discussion forward. Let's see what the four Kumaras have to say to Prithu Maharaj further. They continue. Dagdashayo mukta samasta tadguno naivatmano bahirantarvichashte paratmanor yad vyavadanam purastat swapne yata purushastadvinashe. Dagda ashayah. When the subtle body has been destroyed, ashayah, subtle body, dagda has been burnt or destroyed, mukta samasta tadguno, along with all its effects. Na eva atmano vichashte, one no longer sees bahir antar, the external sense objects or internal disturbances. One no longer sees the external sense objects means one no longer sees the external objects as objects of sense gratification. That is the point. It's not that they literally don't see. They don't see means they don't see it as objects of sense gratification. That's the point. And they no longer have internal disturbances means all the material vasanas have been destroyed. That is what it means. Yad vyavadanam paratmanoho. And all the seeing the Paramatma also no longer exists. Purastat, which had existed prior to their attaining perfection. Swapne yata purushahat tad vinashe. Just as on waking up, a person no longer sees the objects experienced in his dream, but he remembers them. He sees them, which means through his remembrance he can see them. But he knows that those were objects which were present only in his dream. They are not there in real. So in the same way, the person who, when he wakes up from the dream, it's not that he does not remember the dream. He may remember the dream, but he will understand that those objects, places, people were all part of his dream and not real life. Similarly, here the description is given of a Jivan Mukta. When a Jivan Mukta attains that stage of being a Jivan Mukta, when he has destroyed his subtle body, it's not that he will not see the world. It's not that he will not have any remembrances of what has happened, but he will see the world and experience those remembrances in the right context. He will say, oh, till now I have been identifying with my body, and identifying with my body, I engage with all these things, thinking that they'll be giving me um, pleasure. But now I understand that I am not this body, I am the soul. And all that I had experienced trying to enjoy pleasure and all that with respect to this material world and material body was like a dream. He remembers, not that he literally does not see. So he does not see should be understood to mean he no longer sees it as objects of pleasure. Huh? That is the point. He no longer sees those things as objects of pleasure. So that's how we should understand. Okay. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti writes here. Then what happens? Okay. Just give me a second. He says, then what happens? When the subtle body has been destroyed, the person who is freed of all its effects, such as identifying himself as the doer, no longer sees the sense objects for pleasure, for the self, or lamentation, illusion, and other internal effects. Okay. So these are not there. So which means he no longer sees them as objects of pleasure. Not that he literally does not see them. He does sees them. So that's what is clarified here by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti also. He no longer sees the obstacles between the Paramatma and the Atma that previously existed. In other words, he sees Paramatma. Oh. Okay. In other words, he sees Paramatma with no obstacles, just as one does not what one saw in the dream when wakes up from a sleeping condition. One does not see what one saw in the dream. Yeah. Okay. This is the four Kumaras explaining to Prithu Maharaj that how by this practice of Jnana Mishra Bhakti one attains liberation, and the state of liberation, the state of being a Jivan Mukta is being described here. Atmanam indriyartam cha param yad ubayorapi satyashaya upadau vai puman pashyati nanyada. So then he says, Sati ashaya upadau vai. When the subtle body covers the jiva, Sati means it is there, it is present. Upadau, as a covering. So when the subtle body covers the jiva, Puman pashyati atmanam indriyartam. One sees the jiva as an enjoyer. The objects of enjoyment and the result of these happiness and distress. Paramyad upayorapi. But when the subtle body is absent, one sees only Paramatma, na anyada. So when the material subtle body has not yet been destroyed, one sees the jiva as the enjoyer, and one sees the objects of enjoyment and the results of those, which is in the form of happiness and distress. When he gets the objects of pleasure, he feels happiness, and he does not feel when he does not get the objects of pleasure, then he feels lamentation, like that. But when the subtle body is absent, one sees Paramatma. So he says, the subtle body is an imposition on the jiva. The subtle body is an imposition on the jiva. Imposition means aropa. Telling what you are not, say, you are not this body, but you are telling that you are this body. This is aropa. The person is the soul, but you're telling, oh, you are this body. So that is an imposition, aropa. So that is the obstacle mentioned in the previous verse. When the subtle body exists, one sees the subtle body, and when that is absent, one sees Paramatma. So they don't see the subtle body means they don't see the subtle body as the self. And they see the Paramatma. That is explained in this verse. So when the subtle body is an obstruction, one sees the jiva covered by the subtle body as an enjoyer and objects of enjoyment and the happiness and distress that arising from that. All of that is experienced by the jiva. But when the subtle body is destroyed, one sees the Paramatma and one sees the self, and one does not see the objects of sense objects of enjoyment as objects of one's own sense gratification. And one does not therefore experience happiness and distress which comes from obtaining that object of enjoyment or being separated from that object of enjoyment. So if the subtle body is absent, then one sees Paramatma alone. Na anyada, they don't see anything else. Nimitte sati sarvatra jaladavapi purushah atmanascha parasyapi bidam pashyati nanyada. Okay, someone says that my voice is on and off, it fades away sometimes. Is it like that? Can someone please clarify? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what everyone is telling. Okay, let me check. Let me check. Uh, okay, just give me a second. Okay, so can you hear my voice now? Yeah, I was moving away and coming near, but I was wearing my uh, Bluetooth earphones. So now let me move away and come near. Just tell me if my voice is fading away and coming and becoming more. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Good, right? Okay. I don't know. Sometimes it ma does not function properly. I don't know. Okay. Anyways, thank you. So then he continues. Nimitte sati sarvatra jaladavapi purushah atmanascha parasyapi bidam pashyati nanyada. Nimitte sati sarvatra. In the presence of substances with different qualities. Jala adav, like a water, a mirror, or the eye. Okay. A person sees differences. Purushaha bidam pashyati. Atmanascha parasyapi. In the bodies of himself and others. Na anyada. This is not so when that subtle body is absent. So, in the presence of substances with different qualities, like water is a reflecting surface, mirror is a reflecting surface, the eye, in the absence of water and mirror, directly perceives the object. And the eye also may have different powers, different seeing capacity. So, now water may be clear, water may be turgid, water may be moving, water may be still, mirror may be very new, brand new and very clear. Mirror may be not so clear. Mirror may be a plain mirror. Mirror may be a concave mirror, a convex mirror. So in this way, you will see multiple perception depending on the eye, the nature of the eye, the nature of the reflecting surface. Okay. So based on that, a person sees differences in the bodies of himself and others. This is not so when the subtle body is absent. When the subtle body is absent, he directly sees the soul and the Paramatma. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti writes, when the subtle body is present, there is imposition of the qualities of the subtle body on the jiva. Okay. Ichcha dvesha sukam dukkam sangatas chetana dhriti. Etat kshetram samasena savikaram udahritam. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter. Ichcha dvesha sukam dukkam. These are all qualities of the subtle body. But when the jiva identifies with the subtle body, he takes on those qualities also. He thinks, oh, I am happy, I have desire, I have hatred, I am happy, I am sad, like that. Even though these are qualities of the subtle body. Of course, subtle body cannot experience, subtle body cannot experience Ichcha, Dvesha, Sukam, Dukkam, because subtle body is an inanimate object. Only Jiva can experience Ichcha, Dvesha, Sukam, Dukkam, etc. But that experience of Ichcha, uh, those experience of emotions is through the subtle body. Okay, is through the subtle body, right? So, uh, just like one sees the reflection of the moon on water and thinks that it is the real moon. Okay, and thinks that it is the real moon. But what they are seeing is actually reflection on the surface of water. Okay, that's not exactly the real moon. So when the water moves due to the wind, they think that the moon shakes. You know, they think that moon is an object which quivers and it sometimes it elongates and sometimes its shape changes like that. But in reality, what is changing is only um, then only the water is changing. And because we are identifying with the reflected moon, the reflection of the moon as the real moon, then we perceive it differently. Okay. So he says, the subtle body gives rise to bodies of men, devatas, and animals through the influence of karma. But this does not take place in the absence of subtle body. An example is given. So the subtle body gives rise to bodies of men, devatas, and animals through the influence of karma. So, but when one becomes free from subtle body, then there is no agent of agent which carries karma. So when karma is gone, then there is no need for subtle body and no need for rebirth. So using different mediums such as water, oil, a mirror, or the eye, a person sees himself and others differently, corresponding to an average good or poor medium. Just as one sees an image of oneself or others with distorted ripples in water, flawlessly in a mirror, or with contamination in the eye, one sees good and bad in the bodies of men, good only in the bodies of devatas, and bad only in the bodies of animals because of the subtle bodies. So all this perception is because of one himself has a subtle body, identifies with the subtle body. And he perceives objects or people or things through the medium of the subtle body. Okay. But when the subtle body is destroyed by jnana, one does not see like that. One sees Paramatma alone. But when the subtle body is destroyed by bhakti, the pure jiva attains a body of pure knowledge and bliss by that power of rati. He then tastes the beauty of the Lord with a body of knowledge, bliss, power, and sweetness, such as Rama, Krishna, by his eyes and other senses. That is the principal result for the devotee. So when the subtle body is destroyed by jnana, um, uh, when the subtle body is destroyed by jnana, one does not see like that. One sees Paramatma alone. But when the subtle body is destroyed by bhakti, Then the pure Jiva attains a body of pure knowledge and bliss by that power of Rati. He gets a spiritual body. He then tastes the beauty of the Lord with a body which is made of Satchit Ananda and Madhurya and sweetness. So he then tastes the beauty of the Lord, such as Rama and Krishna, by his eyes and other senses. That is the principal result of the above devotee. That is understood from a previous statement. Evam tadaiva bhagavan aravindanabha swanam vibudya sadadikramam arya hridyah tasmin yayau paramaham samaha muninam anveshaniya charanau chalayan sahasrihi. It is mentioned in the third canto when the Supreme Lord is arriving to the place where the four Kumaras had just cursed Jaya and Vijaya for not allowing them to enter into Vaikunta. So the Lord arrives there. So this is the verse that describes his arrival. It is mentioned, at that moment, the Lord with lotus navel, who appears within the hearts of the deserving, understanding that his servants had offended the Kumaras, came to the seventh gate with Lakshmi, moving his feet, which should be sought by the great renounced sages. So, when one becomes purified by bhakti, one is able to see the form of the Lord because one receives a body and senses through which one can perceive the transcendental form of the Supreme Lord. इन्द्रियैर्विषयाकृष्टैर् आक्षिप्तं ध्यायतां मनः चेतनां हरते बुद्धेः स्तम्भस्तोयम् इव ह्रदात्. Manah, the mind, dhayatam, of a person thinking of sense objects, akshiptam, it is bewildered, vishaya akrishtair indriyaihi, by the senses which are attracted to those objects. Chetanam harate buddhehe, then the mind takes away the discriminating power of the intelligence. Tambastoyam iva hradat, just as grass takes away water from a lake. So, this is the same Bhagavatam version of the verse. Indriyanam hi charatam yanmano anuvidiyate tadasya harati pragyam vayurnavam ivambasi. Indriyanam hi charatam, even one of the senses which are grazing behind their sense objects. Indriyanam hi charatam yanmano anuvidiyate, it pulls the mind. Tadasya harati pragyam, and the mind then hijacks the intelligence. Vayurnavam ivambasi, just as wind sweeps away an unfettered boat, a boat which is not properly anchored. So in the same way. So here a different analogy is given. Bhagavatam's analogy is different here. Here he says, Stambhastoyam iva hradat, just as grass takes away water from a lake. So now, grass does not very actively take that water. It's not like, okay, if there is a lake and then you take a bucket and start emptying that lake or a well. Okay, it is a very active way, you can clearly see. But how a grass takes away that water from underground, no one is watching. The grass keeps growing and the water keeps shrinking, and you don't know. You are wondering who is. I don't see anyone, fetching that water using a bucket or something, but still the water is vanishing. How? The water is being smuggled away by the grass from underground. The roots are eating. The roots are drinking that water from below. So therefore one does not see. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti commenting on this here, he says that attachment to things other than Atma is the cause of samsara. This is explained in 4 verses. Okay. So the cause of samsara, attachment to things is the cause of samsara. This is described in verses 30 to 33. Okay. The senses of a man who does not want to think of sense objects, but controlled by habit. The senses of a man who does not want to think of sense objects, but controlled by habit. So does this sound familiar? Does this sound familiar? Can you think of a familiar category of person who is being described here? Yes, a sadhaka, right? A sadhaka. The senses of a man who does not want to think of sense objects, but he is controlled by habit, thinks of the sense objects even while standing in the forest, become first attracted by sense objects like sound and touch arising from memories related to sons and wife. Okay, that happens. That is why when Arjuna told Krishna that, look, Krishna, only if I am Grihastha and a Kshatriya, there is a problem. I will take up sannyas. I will take up sannyas and I will go to the forest. Then I will not be troubled because there will be no one around. Na rahega baas, na bajegi basuri. So, but Krishna said, no, that's not sannyas. Sannyas means not that you run away from the uh, sannyas does not mean you run away from the objects of sense gratification to escape them. Sannyas does not mean you run away from sense objects to escape them. Sannyas means you have detached yourself from your materialistic mind, which is carrying all those impressions, so that even when you are with them, you are not affected. So sannyas does not mean you go away from them because you don't want to be disturbed by them. Sannyas means you go away from them because you are no longer disturbed by them. There is a difference. Okay. So sannyas is not for escaping sense gratification. Sannyas is taken because one has escaped sense gratification, which means one has escaped the influence of the mind. One has conquered, one is no longer, one has destroyed the materialistic aspect of the mind, the material mind. So he leaves his family because he can no longer relate with them. Not that he is leaving his family because he does not want to relate with them. Okay. I want to somehow, if I stay with you, then I will get attracted. Well, sir, then you are not yet ready for sannyas. Okay. That is the point. I mean, that is the traditional sannyas. Of course, in the Vaishnava Sampradayas, sannyas has different connotation. Anyways. So the senses of a man who does not want to think of sense objects, but controlled by habit, thinks of sense objects, even while standing in the forest, becomes first attracted by sense objects like sound and touch arising from memories related to sons and wife. Then the mind becomes bewildered by the senses attracted to sense objects. The bewildered mind then takes away the intelligence ability to discriminate. The invisible nature of this theft is shown in an example. The grass on the bank of the river takes the water from the lake by its roots. Invisible theft. The intelligence is, no one is taking a log of wood and hitting on your head and makes you unconscious. No. While you are very much conscious, while we are very much active, out of nowhere, our sense of discrimination is seems to be lost. Who is taking it? Who is taking it? This is the invisible theft by the senses through the agency of mind. So no one is seeing. No one is making you unconscious. No one is spiking your drink with some sedative or something which will put you to sleep. Okay. It is all invisibly happening. The invisible theft. And the example that is given is Stambastoyam iva hradat. Okay. The lake is there. No one is putting a submersible pump or something to take out that water. There are only grass around. So, but still the water is getting sucked. Who is sucking the water? Underground, the roots. And that's how you will see the grass growing bigger and bigger and bigger, because the swindling is happening underground. Underground swindling. Okay, like that. Then he says, Brashyatyanusmritischittam jnana bramshasmritikshaye tadrodam kavayah prahur atma pahnavamatmanah. Brashyati chittam. When the ability to discriminate is lost, anusmritihi, memory becomes destroyed. Smritikshaye, with the loss of memory, jnana bramshah, knowledge is lost. Kavayah prahuhu, the wise say, tadrodam, that the destruction of knowledge, atma apaknavam atmanah, is called the destruction of the self. If you remember, does this remind you of some verse? Does this remind you of some verse? Yeah. Dhyayato vishayan pumsah sangasteshu pajayate. Sangat sanjayate kamah kamah krodho vijayate. Krodhat bhavati sammoha sammohat smriti vibrama. Smriti bramshat buddhinasho buddhinashat pranashyati. So how this happens? Dhyayataha. It starts with meditation. Just remembering. Oh, this is nice. This is nice. And then comes Sangha. Oh, I really like it. Then comes Kama. I just want it. Then that Kama, when fulfilled, leads to Lobha, greed. When unfulfilled, leads to Krodha, anger, which are very intense emotions. Then Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha. So Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha means one loses. Sammoha is illusion. Illusion means one does not understand what is right and what is wrong. That is what is mentioned here as when the ability to discriminate is lost. So that is ability to discriminate is lost is mentioned here as sammoha. Sammohat smriti vibrama. That leads to loss of memory. Brashyati chittam Then brashyati anusmritihi. Loss of memory means what? Memory of, oh, I had decided uh, what to. No, wait. This is Prodat bhavati sammohat smriti vibrama, smriti bramshad buddhi nasho. So, the three aspects of intelligence: discrimination, memory, and determination. First, discrimination goes, then memory goes. Memory of, oh, if sense object comes, I will do this, I will do this to overcome my desire for sense gratification. I will run away from that place. I should do this, I should do that. I should take shelter of devotees. All that memory is lost. This is the second aspect of destruction of intelligence. Intelligence surrendering. First, intelligence surrenders discrimination. Then intelligence surrenders memory. Then intelligence surrenders determination. Smriti Brahmshad Buddhinasho. So here Buddhinasha means uh, the determination to fight sense gratification is lost. Abhi, what is the point in fighting? I don't stand any chance of fighting and winning this battle. I might as well succumb. Smriti Brahmshad Buddhinasho. So, so the wise say that this destruction of knowledge is called destruction of the self. Buddhinashat pranashyati. So pranashyati is indicated here as atma apahnavam atmanaha, like that. So which means he gets lost from his pursuit of spiritual perfection. So when the ability to discriminate is stolen away, remembrance, the sequence of past experience is destroyed. The destruction of knowledge is called the destruction of the self. Okay. नातः परतरो लोके पुंसस्वार्थव्यतिक्रमः यदद्यन्यस्य प्रेयस्त्वम् आत्मनः स्वव्यतिक्रमात् yad adi atmanah anyasya preyastvam. Since there is nothing dearer than atma, na ataha parataro loke pumsah swartha vyatikramaha. There is no greater harm to the self in this world, swa vyatikramat, than this destruction of knowledge occurring on its own. Destruction of knowledge means complete absorption in the body and things related with the body, with complete, forgetfulness of oneself being the soul. There is no greater harm. Otherwise, destruction of the self, actually, we do understand the self cannot be destroyed. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, nachainam kledayantyapo, na shoshayati marutaha. It is not possible to destroy the self. It is not possible to destroy the self. But the proper understanding of the self, the ability to act on the platform of the self is completely lost. Okay. So the ability to act on the platform of the self becomes completely lost. So it becomes like a discharged cell phone or a discharged laptop. Okay. So it becomes like a discharged cell phone or a discharged laptop. Okay. So it no longer can act as a phone or a laptop because it is completely discharged. Like that. So there is nothing, no greater harm to the self in this world than this destruction of knowledge occurring on its own. Okay, since there is nothing dearer than the Atma, there is no greater harm to oneself than the spontaneous destruction of the Atma. Or where there is no power of reflection and other things become dear, there is no greater harm to oneself than the spontaneous destruction of the Atma. There is no other cause than this destruction as it appears on its own. This means that the jiva's association with ignorance is without beginning. Appearing on its own means anadi. This avidya is anadi. It's without beginning. It has always been there. It has been accomplished in the past spontaneously. Therefore, devotion to the Paramatma, the shelter of the jiva, is suitable. For that purpose, it is recommended to perform bhakti. Okay. Okay. Any quick discussion points, comments, questions, anything anyone would like to share as add? There are some questions in the chat box. Let's take them first. When one chants Mahamantra, his karma is destroyed completely. Yes, but not the karma vasanas. Then the subtle body should be destroyed? No, because the karma vasanas are not destroyed. But we say anartha nivritti takes some lifetime to happen even for devotees. It may take lifetime. Yes. Yeah, because the karma vasanas take time to get destroyed. Even though karma gets destroyed immediately, which means the system of reaction to past action through the agency of karma gets destroyed. But some other agency takes over. Krishna takes over. But the karma vasanas, they don't get destroyed immediately. It is very gradual only. It is gradual. Anartha nivritti is gradual. Okay, next question. How come subtle body will not be there as it is an integral part of the soul? Well, the subtle body is certainly not an integral part of the soul. Is it that the subtle body should be in the right constitutional position without the ego and with the right intelligence that we are the soul and not the body? Our objective is to remove the covering of the subtle body and not to burn the subtle body. Yeah, that is true. I mean, we spiritualize it. We spiritualize it. But through the process of jnana, because they do not have an idea of a spiritual world, spiritual body, and a spiritual relationship with Krishna. Therefore, they just burn the subtle, the material part of the subtle body and detach it. That's all. Okay. Knowledge destroys subtle body and devotion destroys subtle body. Can you give a little more explanation? So, knowledge destroys or the jnana. When we say knowledge, we mean the path of jnana. Through the path of jnana, there is no understanding of the spiritual world, spiritual relationships, etc. But there is very clear understanding that material world, material relationships are all perverted, and it gives yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yona evate. It gives only distress. So the impetus through the agency of jnana is just, I want to give up this, destroy this subtle body so that I don't suffer in this material world. So through the path of jnana, one destroys the subtle body, but because there is no tangible spiritual impressions which one develops, one accumulates, therefore there is no need for the subtle body. One goes and merges in the Brahma Jyoti. But when one practices bhakti, then along with anartha nivritti, which is destruction of the vasanas from the subtle body, one slowly starts accumulating spiritual vasanas. And the slow accumulation of the spiritual vasanas, uh, it acts as the seed to get another spiritual body through which one can engage in spiritual relationship with Krishna. That is the difference. Yeah. Does it mean that avidya is the default mode for sadhaka? Yes. If the sadhaka is not consciously trying to act according to his value system, he will be pulled by the avidya potency only. For a Jivan Mukta, yeah, do all karma vasanas, are all karma vasanas also removed? Yes. Is this something that can be evidence in the life of a sadhaka in incremental fashion? Yes. In incremental fashion, this is actually done. You know, like we do, some of us may have been eating non-vegetarian food in the past. Some of us may have been eating onion and garlic in the past. Some of us may have had habits of smoking, drinking, etc. in the past. But those are gone. The memory of our having indulged in the past may be there, but the influence of those vasanas is not there. So it is already happening, and we all have an experience of that. Even though at one point we did relish eating meat, but now the very smell of that meat creates nauseating experience. So this has happened. We do have an experience in an incremental fashion. It's happening to us. Yes, Mother Gail.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, I'm sorry I won't be able to ask this question the way I would like to because I need to listen to a recording, I think. But you had said something like, jnana creates an obstacle to bhakti, actually. But when you said that, it sounded like it contradicted something that you had said right before that. I'm sure you won't know what I'm talking about because I don't know.
Is it okay if you re-listen and then
Okay.
frame it so that because I'm not able to relate to the question, I'm not able to recollect what I exactly spoke.
But anyway, one thing I can ask is, how is it that that jnana is an obstacle to bhakti, since it does destroy the subtle body, which is helpful, right? To because when the subtle body is not there, then there's less obstruction in terms of the presence of asanas to performing one's bhakti. So it seems like in that way it would be of help.
Yeah. So it is just like jnana is just like uh, are you aware of chemotherapy?
Yeah.
So in
Of course, yeah.
chemotherapy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So chemotherapy is used for cancer treatment. So, but through that chemotherapy, it destroys the cancer cells and the good cells also. The healthy cells also are destroyed along with that in the vicinity. So, jnana is like that. So, it destroys the cancer cells, which is the material vasanas. But at the same time, whatever little spiritual vasanas are there, that is not nourished. So, and also, jnana comes with its own baggage. Jnana comes with its own baggage. So when you are cultivating jnana, there is a very strong emphasis on the non-difference between the self and the Supreme Lord, which actually kills the service attitude. So when the service attitude is killed, then where will bhakti gets its nourishment from?
Right.
So, so yes, it is like, for example, it is like when uh, the mother, for some reason, let's say I have to create a story just to explain. So let's say there is a mother who is, um, ill with something, or for some very essential reason, she had to go to some other country for 2, 3 years. She has been deported or whatever. Okay. So therefore, the child has been admitted to an orphanage, so that till the mother comes and reclaims the child after 3, 4 years. Okay. But so no doubt, if the orphanage would not have been there, the child would have not survived. Huh? So after 4 years, when the mother comes, uh, the child is released from the orphanage. But if you see, the child has had such a bad experience of father figures and mother figures in the orphanage, that when the real uh, affectionate mother comes, he cannot love her, because his heart has been very severely scarred by his bad experiences. So the path of, so even though the child has survived 4 years, 4 years, if without that orphanage, he would not have remained alive. But having survived 4 years, now the child is unable to relate to motherly love, because it's in the prime age, when he really needed the nourishment of the father and mother. He got a very, very abusive version of it. So therefore, when the real version comes, he's unable to relate, unable to trust. Okay, that is what jnana does. Yes, no longer destroys the anarthas, but with its baggage of, you know, uh, constant emphasis of not seeing the
Equality,
difference between the quality of
e-
service. Uh,
equality with the supreme.
yeah, and there is no understanding of spiritual, you can say, relationship. The whole relationship is so decried for all the right reasons. The material relationships need to be decried. They need to be criticized. But then, because in the path of jnana, relationship means uh, material relationship. So therefore, uh, it is not material relationship which is decried. Actually, it is a relationship which is decried. So one develops a very unfavorable attitude towards relationship only. So for them to reprogram and even understand or conceive that there could be something like spiritual relationship, which can be very, very different and very fulfilling and on the platform of soul, it becomes, for them to reprogram that becomes very difficult. So therefore, jnana is, so it does all these kind of things.
But the only thing that I find a little bit interesting about that is that for there to be success on that path of jnana, bhakti is required, which means that there has to be acknowledgement of the supreme as a person. And
Yeah.
so the idea of relationship, I mean, they cannot completely identify relationship with the supreme with relationship with ordinary human beings.
For them, any kind of that kind of a relationship, they can't even come closer to thinking along those lines. They may accept the Supreme Lord, but there is no question of imagining oneself to establish a relationship with the Supreme Lord. They can't think along those lines. That which comes so naturally to us, it comes so naturally to us because of the Sukriti. But
So then it just makes me wonder what is actually their concept of bhakti, of which, you know, it is a necessary factor in their path.
yeah, they think that, okay, the Lord has to give me liberation. And if I want liberation, I have to chant his names. I have to do some worship. So I will do that so that I can get my liberation.
Okay, but you can do those things without having any concept of relationship, huh?
Yeah, the only relationship that they have is that of I worship you, you give me liberation.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
Shiv Kumar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dhanavad pranams, Prabhu. Prabhu, I had one follow-up question to Mother Gail's question, Prabhu. I had one more question which I put it in chat box, which I thought will verbally ask, but before that one, just quick follow-up question, Prabhu. Now, when we say Gyanis also have to do bhakti to achieve their goal, how do we understand, Prabhu, that bhakti can only be, we are saying bhakti can only be done to the personal form of the Lord, which is Bhagavan. And if that is not their idea of destiny, what bhakti would they do to achieve their goal, Prabhu?
No, they do have to accept a personal form of the Lord, but they don't really wish to establish a relationship with that Lord in one of the rasas.
Okay.
Like we oftentimes see the example of a shopkeeper, right? I do believe in the shopkeeper as a person. I do believe that if I pay him money, he is capable of giving me my commodity. But not that I want to marry the shopkeeper or I want to befriend the shopkeeper. I don't have any such desire.
Okay, Prabhu. So, Prabhu, just one follow-up question on the karma vasanas, Prabhu. You are talking about the vasanas also get cleaned up incrementally. On that front, Prabhu, you gave example of the pleasures associated with actions that break the regulative principles is something that can be understood, and we also have experience of it, Prabhu. But the pleasures registered in the memory from the actions that do not directly break the regulative principles, that seems to be still intact. I am just trying to get some pointers, Prabhu. Is there any way which we can see that correction is happening in incremental fashion?
Yeah, we can definitely. It may not go away, but the intensity of that attachment may start slackening little by little, little by little. We have to keep observing. It may not increase, it may not decrease, it may in some case increase also. So for that, we have to see, apart from my bhakti, am I doing something directly which is contributing to its increase? Like, for example, you have a container in which, like, for example, you have you have seen water dispensers, right? So water dispensers, drinking water dispensers, they have a bottom dispenser, and on top of that they put uh, the storage can, the 20-liter storage can, right? So now you see that if you open the tap, then the water should go down. But sometimes you see when you open the tap, the water is you're taking water, but at the same time uh, the level is not going down. Why? because while you are removing water, water from the top container is filling the bottom container. So therefore, we have to see, yes, I may be practicing bhakti, but in some cases, my material attachments are increasing. Yeah. So bhakti can remove 5 units. Maybe we are practicing bhakti, which is capable of removing 5 units a month of attachment, but we are doing something externally which will increase 10 units of attachment per month. So then, without that bhakti, we would be experiencing 10 units increase in attachment. With bhakti, it is only 5 units increase.
Okay.
That we have to see.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Okay. Oh, 2 more hands up. And few more questions in chat box. Let's see. Let's look at some chat box questions. Okay. How to overcome the tendency when sometimes one succumbs to sense objects and not get defeated again and again and win the fight? Yeah, there are so many things. One of the main things is to have the right association. When the right association is there, the right inspiration comes, the right external surroundings, we get the right support system we get from others. So, and then of course, there are other things, stay consciously away from the sense objects, like that. Okay. Yeah, is it like demigod worship like business? Yeah, true. The Jnani is there. I will worship you, you give me liberation, like that. Yes. Okay. Sham Sundaranand Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much for this explanation. It seems to be a very difficult topic, philosophically. So, yesterday also, today also, we discussed that jnana destroys the subtle body, right? Subtle body consists of, someone asked this question also on that. So, subtle body comprises of mind, intelligence, ego, right? So when
and the subtle senses.
And the subtle senses. Material. There is subtle senses means material. In the material world, we have material senses only, na? So
Yeah.
5 sense organs and 5 gyanendriyas.
Yeah. But they are all subtle. Karmendriyas and
Okay.
Gyanendriyas are Sukshmendriyas. Of course, there are stula part of it, the gross body. Yeah.
So anyway, so when we attain jnana, so what is meant by destruction of the subtle body in the material world? Like we also see that when in the process of liberation, in Bhagavatam also couple of times it is described that when someone gets liberated, his subtle body is dissolved. It says. And even in the universal destruction, it is says that the elements first gets destroyed, and the mind also gets dissolved and into pradhana. All those things, that process is there. So and anyway, if not talked about the universal destruction, at least when the subtle body is dissolved, so there are 2 aspects for this. One is like after death and before death. We talk about someone who is a Jivan Mukta, who is liberated while living also. So that means his subtle body is dissolved while living also only.
Yeah.
Right? So is it like a figurative description that his mind, intelligence is everything is dissolved? Okay, that is first part. The second part,
let's take the first part. It is functionally destroyed, but still he may be acting, performing actions, but it is like, you are on a slope. Okay. You are on a slope driving a vehicle. You have switched off the engine. So if you have switched off the engine also, because of the inertia of movement and the slope, automatically the vehicle will move to some distance. Okay. So similarly, that's how the Shastras describe the performance of actions of the Jivan Muktas till they leave that gross body. So that happens because of the inertia. That happens because of the inertia. Just like when you have switched off the engine, still, the inertia of motion will carry the, or if you are pedaling a cycle, when you stop pedaling, it's not that the cycle will immediately stop. The inertia of motion will carry it to some distance till friction kind of arrests the motion at some point. So, like that.
So I am trying to understand this part at least. So when we talk about pure devotees here, right? So are they two different? I mean, the pure devotees and the Jivan Muktas, are they different?
When you say pure devotees, you're talking about perfected devotees, those at the stage of bhava
Perfected
or
devotees.
prema.
Perfected, yes, perfected
Yeah.
devotees.
Yeah.
So I am referring to that verse specifically. We have Ihayasya Harer Dasya. So in that verse, it is said that who does these activities while living, they are to be considered liberated while living. Right.
Okay. Yes. That is one type of Jivan Mukta.
Yeah, I mean that is my reference to when I talk about Jivan Mukta.
Yeah, that is.
Is there any
That
other
is
type of
the.
Jivan
That is
Mukta?
that. Yeah, that is a pure devotional Jivan Mukta.
Okay.
Now there are Jivan Muktas who are Jivan Muktas through the process of Jnana or Yoga.
Okay.
So those type of Jivan Muktas cannot be defined through that verse. Ihayasya Hare Dasya Karmana Manasa Gira verse does not describe those Jivan Muktas. Those Jivan Muktas are described in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Tidapragyasya kabasha samadhistasya keshava. Idadir kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. Those series of verses, they describe the Jivan Mukta through the process of Jnana or Yoga.
Okay. So both are different. Okay.
Yeah, there is similarity and there is difference. The similarity is that the material aspect of the subtle body is destroyed in both persons. The difference is that in the simultaneously, along with the destruction of the material aspect of the subtle body, for the devotee Jivan Mukta, his spiritual aspect of the subtle body is also developed parallelly. So, so he develops a body or a subtle body, a seed of a spiritual body, with the identification of the servant of Krishna. And gradually, when that seed becomes more and more nourished, he that servant, the form of that servant, the service of the servant, the emotions that he shares with the master through that servant's body, everything develops gradually. So that Jivan Mukta, he becomes so he sometimes may seem to act exactly like an ordinary material person. He may not necessarily act like a Jivan Mukta who has attained that stage through the process of Jnana. Because for that person, only Anartha Nivritti has happened, but Artha Pravritti has not happened. But for a devotee Jivan Mukta, parallelly along with Anartha Nivritti, gradually Artha Pravritti also happens. He develops the spiritual aspect of that subtle body also. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of answers my second part of the question also. Anyway, so when we talk about pure devotees like Prabhupada, so they are like already perfected souls, right? And their body is also considered spiritual, not material. And even there are instances in the Gita Mahatmya also, those who actually recite the Bhagavad Gita every day, so all the tirthas reside in their body. This kind of description is there in the Gita Mahatmya also. So that means one who is a pure devotee of the Lord, or he has become a pure devotee, his body has become spiritual even while living.
Well, yes.
So that kind of you talked about he developing material spiritual senses while living in this body itself, right?
Yeah.
So
But still,
yeah.
there is a difference between spiritualized material body and spiritual body.
Okay.
Okay. Even though functionally they're more or less similar. Like, for example, we oftentimes give the example of, in a slightly different sense, but nevertheless, the same analogy applies here also. Like when you put a iron rod in fire, okay, it becomes like fire. But so for particular functions, you can use it interchangeably with fire.
Okay.
But it is not fire. I mean, now I am extending that analogy beyond the scope of what we use it for.
Correct.
Okay. But that iron rod is nevertheless not fire.
Correct.
So
Yes.
similarly, so when we are talking about Nitya Siddhas descending to the material world in their spiritual bodies, and Sadhana Siddhas who by practice of sadhana have spiritualized their material body, there is a difference between these two bodies in the ultimate sense. Even though for many practical purposes, you can say that they should not be distinguished. But that material body which has been spiritualized, till it reaches the preliminary stages of prema, till the jiva reaches the preliminary stages of prema, he can experience those ecstasies and everything in that body. But when he starts progressing still further to the higher stages of prema, that spiritualized material body cannot handle those kind of intense ecstasies. So at that point of time, he gives up that body and accepts and a body befitting the associate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In that, one can experience the higher stages of prema. So,
so similar to what Narada Muni got from his previous.
Exactly. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Correct. Yes. Pavana Gauranga Prabhu. Oh, what did I do? Just give me a second. Where did he go? I thought he was okay. And it's okay. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for the wonderful thing. Today, Prabhuji, in between you just touched the point of super soul, seeing the super soul. So there is a question from many days, like in the 5th chapter, 18th sloka, Pandita Samadarshana, and in the 6th chapter, when the yogi, when he is seeing the Yomam Pasyati Sarvatra Sarvanchamai Pashyati, what is the difference of the realization of super soul seeing in every jiva from the point of Gnani and from the point of Ashtanga Yogi? This is the one question. Okay, there is another second question also. If you want to answer, you can answer. Then I will ask second one.
Well, please reserve this question for tomorrow, because this will take some time for us to discuss this point. It's not because it's a whole different theme that we need to discuss, and it's already 8:40 now, 8:42. So just hold on this question, remember it, write it down. We will discuss it tomorrow.
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Correct. Okay, so I think we should pause here and we will continue this discussion tomorrow. So thank you all very much for your patient listening and your enthusiastic participation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad ki jai, uh, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Did I see some message from Radha Pramakluk? Radha Pramakluk, there is class today, right? Yeah, it is there. Okay. Okay. I just felt somehow, I thought. Okay.